Good morning, everybody. It is Wednesday, the second day of October, and I'm driving to work. So, if it's the second day of October, and you still have any money left from all the craziness going on online, I'm pretty impressed. Because apparently, Reaper decided to start their Bones 2 Kickstarter. And in less than 24 hours, they were able to raise $1 million. So it's $1 million in a day through people, buying miniatures. And, that's just kind of amazing. I mean, last time they raised $3.3 million. And that really started taking off at the end part. If you look at their click tracks online, you can see it started out pretty, getting some cool miniatures. And then it just blew the doors off everything. Well, yesterday, it blew the doors off everything on day one. And that's really all I got to say about that. $1 million in 24 hours, probably in increments of $100 each, isn't that bad. Now, I'm sure people bought more than $100, but let's just talk about, that little impressive move. These guys, raised 1/3 of the previous Kickstarter in 24 hours. They still have 24 days left. And I'm sure there's tons of stuff they're going to be adding to this thing. So, once again, the question begs to ask, what's going to happen with Reaper and retail and distribution? Because there have been people online who've been talking about how once again Kickstarter is this horrible, awful thing, and da-da-da-da, and there's a discussion going on. Actually, if you go to Facebook and go to Gary Ray, who owns Black Diamond Games out in California, he's having a discussion about the effect on Kickstarter, his sales in his store, and things like that. And I'm taking, of course, the opposite position. And I'm going to say my position, because if you want to read his position, it's only logical to read his. Don't let me try to surmise it or try to really influence what I think, what you might think. But I basically believe that Reaper, at this point, has to be looking at how to self-distribute themselves to stores and to their customer base. Because, I mean, as I mentioned in my post, on the previous Kickstarter, you got 11,000 names of people who want to buy your products, who are more than happy to give you, probably on average $100 a piece to buy your product. And that's not a bad deal. That's kind of nice when you have that kind of access to that many customers. And really, I mean, okay, let's suppose half of those guys, we'll say 5,000, half of those guys become regular customers that you can count on for a sale at least twice a year. Even if it's $100 twice a year. $100 twice a year, 5,000 people. That's still not bad. Then you add on top of that some rumblings I've heard from stores down here about distributors who are not carrying Reaper miniatures because of the issues of Reaper doing Bones. Because once again, they have been cut out of the system. Distribution does not like to be cut out of the system because that's how they make their money. I mean, they make their money on the spread. It's a small spread, but it is a spread, and that's how they make their money. And I respect that. I get that, and I understand why they don't like Kickstarter. Because, if I was used to getting a percentage of sales that come through, then all of a sudden I lost that percentage, I'd be upset too. But then you gotta wonder what Reaper's long-term game is. A lot of retailers have said, Reaper would never set up, do their own self-distribution, it would be horrible, da-da-da-da. But you gotta wonder, if Reaper earns, let's just say, based on today, let's just say Reaper earns $5 million off this Kickstarter. Do you think that Reaper wouldn't put maybe $1 million away to possibly think about maybe doing mail order direct with stores? That wouldn't be an option they might look into? Give stores maybe a better deal than they could get through distribution? Possibly? Because you gotta wonder what Reaper's end goal is. And some people say, well, it's niche selling. And yeah, it's it technically is niche selling, but you sell $1 million in a day. How much of a niche? That's a massive niche, especially for our game. That's a massive niche to get on one day. And if this thing gets 25 days, you get $5 million out of it. What does that say about your niche? Apparently, it's not as much niche as you thought it was. It's something else. And a lot of people don't. A lot of people, I guess, don't and are very uncomfortable thinking that, what if Reaper pulled out of traditional distribution and decided to do it themselves? Reaper goes. Reaper says, "Oh, we're going to pull out of Alliance. We're going to pull out the main guys, and we're going to handle it ourselves." Now, I'm going to flash back for a lot of you guys who are pretty young, may not remember this. Marvel Comics did something like this back in, what was it, 94? Or actually, technically it was 93. And then by 94, it fell apart. Here's a little history lesson. Okay, back in the 80s, there were three main distributors of products of comics. You had Diamond, you had Capital City, and you had Hero. Basically what happened is that Diamond pulled I'd say the coup of the coup by saying, hey, we're going to get DC Comics to sign exclusive with us, and we're going to handle all their distribution. Alright, so the number one distributor gets probably the number one, two guy to sign exclusive with them. So now that cuts out all the other distributors. Now, you got to figure, DC Comics sales from all the other distributors are probably 40% of their sales. So all of a sudden, wham! You get hit by a loss of 40% of your sales. Now that's bad. Can't lie. That's bad. That's bad on catastrophic levels. Okay. A little bit later, and months, not years, months later, Marvel Comics buys Heroes World distribution. And Heroes World is the number 3 guy. And they go exclusive with Heroes World. Okay. Now you have the number 1 and number 2 guy who are no longer in distribution with any other distributors out there. So, and within the shortest amount of time, you've lost roughly 75 to 85% of your revenue. Bam! Now run your business. 80% loss of revenue, run your business. Well, we know what happens next. Okay, everybody small guy collapses and they're dead. Well, not everybody, but they're basically on life support. And let's just call it like it is. They're in horrifically bad shape. The number 2 guy, Capital City, which was a very well-established, well-put-together company, and done very, very well, basically got run over both ways. Now, it's one thing when you lose one of your main customers that provides the majority. It's a whole different story when you lose both of the guys who provide, 75 to 85% of your sales. And Capital City was a large company. Well, Capital City basically imploded in a very, very quick time period. I mean, ridiculously quick. It was like, hey, the morning we woke up, oh, midday, everyone's left us. By end of business day, we're all out of business. I mean, it was, if you weren't there during this time period, it's kind of hard to see it from perspective. Now, I remember very well, because this is like the first job I had out of college. I was working for Comics Values Monthly. If you can remember Comics Values Monthly, raise your hand. Yeah, that's how long ago it was. And working at CVM, we watched this whole implosion happen. And, comic industry was really popular at that time. Stores were opening up. It had become the new popular thing. And this is during the, big craze of, oh, everybody's jumping on board. Comic books, prices are getting crazy. This caused the bubble, as they refer to it, to implode. Now you've got this going on, plus everybody else doing their own universes and worlds. You got Valiant, you've got Image, you've got Malibu. And it's crazy. It's legitimately crazy out there. And then the entire thing within 2 years is a totally different landscape. Completely different from, one end to the other. And by the time this was all said and done, Marvel had basically crushed and crumpled up Heroes World because they couldn't handle distribution. Couldn't handle it. Capital City gone. Their stores bought out by Diamond. And Diamond has then become the lone largest distributor of comic books and fan-related materials. When I first got into doing this as an actual business, I mean, before LPG Design, when I was working for CVM, we're talking, this is like, I just got out of college, so this is roughly 90, oh my God, 92, 93. So I'm 22, 23 years old, watching this stuff play out, you know. And, you know, I remember when people talked about there was a comic book bubble. And, you know, there were stores, at one point there were stores everywhere selling comics. That's why, you know, the 90s are such a funny period in comics. Because everybody was doing a comic. I mean, it's different now. People are doing comics now, but they're doing them more on the web. And the web didn't exist then. So you guys printing out these numbers of books. And, you know, I remember when Valiant was a solid #3 publishing company. You know, these are crazy times. Kind of like how it is now with Kickstarter. These are crazy times. A lot of the stuff that's traditional you expect, you know, are not doing that. And Reaper has proven that business model. Now, a lot of people attack the whole Kickstarter thing, going with it. Oh, my customer base. You suck up my customer base so people might be interested in it. I had to basically debunk someone yesterday for saying that argument, because I'm going to go with the speech that always makes me laugh. If a typical Kickstarter gets between 200 and 800 people supporting it, if you want to do the math real quick, if you just suppose all those people came from the U.S., that's somewhere between 4 to 10 people per state who bought into your Kickstarter. 4 to 10. If you're trying to tell me that 4 to 10 people in the state of California are going to cripple your sales, or the state of Texas, or the state of Florida, New York, New Jersey, Seattle, well, not state, but Seattle. I mean, we're talking about very small numbers of donors. Okay, Monty Cook, all right, maybe not that, you know, maybe a little different. He had 4,500. Still, 4,500, 50 states, those numbers are pretty, okay, a little high. But, really? And I think it's this weird, I'm gonna call it a dichotomy. It's a weird dichotomy that happens. At least to me, what I've seen as a guy who makes Kickstarters, who does publishing through distribution, tries to get stuff through retail, and then sells direct to customers. Retailers want you to sell direct when it's always best for them. And I understand that. I get that. It's not a surprise by that. They want to make the most money. I get that. But at the same token, you'll have these same retailers complain about, oh, these numbers are ridiculous. You're not treating us fairly. Those same guys will be the same ones saying, oh, I won't hold your product. It won't sell in my store. And once again, we're back in the same position. And I think the real difference is that Reaper made their money in stores. They made a lot of money in stores. They supported stores, they supported distribution. But now Reaper has found a way to kind of negate that. And at the same time, they've got this is some open hostility. There's going to be some open hostility with the Bones set. I can't deny that. But people are like, what the hell, man? I supported you for years. And now you're doing this Kickstarter and you're taking food out of my mouths of my kids. And I've actually heard that phrase used. And I'm just like, hey man, the world's adapted in the weirdest kind of way. No one could have predicted Kickstarter to be this huge. I mean, let's go back. Let's go back to the first real Kickstarter that I remember seeing. That was Far West. Gary Sarka's one. That's just Skarka. I keep messing his name up constantly. You know, he was the first big one that people saw, $50,000. We were like, whoa, 50 grand. And we thought that was crazy. And then everybody jumped in. Everybody tried doing their Kickstarter for 40, 50, da-da-da-da-da. And that, I call Gareth one of the first innovators of that. Can't deny it. He got into it. He got in at the right time. Boom. He did what he was supposed to do. That second generation came. And I was part of that second generation. Put stuff out. Tried it out. Didn't work. Put stuff out again, tried it out again, didn't work. And I'm just like, I'm not getting this. So then I started really looking at it and researching and looking it over and understanding it better. And I'd say we tried with some smaller stuff, and then our big success was Obsidian Apocalypse. Obsidian Apocalypse, we followed the rules as people told us we should do, what we should do, how we should do it. We did that exactly just like that. And it worked out great. Worked out great. Can't deny that. We made double more than double what we asked for. And a year later, the book is basically finishing up. We're getting the last little pieces together, and we're gonna be selling this product. And that's not a bad deal. I mean, I got a bunch of money up front. I paid for a lot of stuff up front. Last thing we've got to pay for is, shipping the pieces out to people. And that's one of those things that right now I'm debating of, well, do I want to ship it to my home and have me do each one, which would be a little more personal, that we can do a lot of, a little more focused kind of stuff. Or, it's raining like cats and dogs here, good Lord. Or, do I do the really crazy thing and send directly to my book being published, and then send the other stuff as smaller containers to people? Now, it's kind of double shipping, but it really doesn't matter either way. But shipping it to my house or shipping it out, it's all the same thing to me. You've got to find a way to ship it to people, and that's the way it is. So, you gotta wonder what's the best way to go about this. But still, the people who bought Obsidian Apocalypse are now people who are more than just interested in my company. These guys are, fans. We even got retailers. That's right. We got 14 retailers, I believe, who signed on with us to get this book. They're getting copies of the book for their store. And we're doing everything we can to make sure that people get the copies they want for a price they want. Everything being reasonable. So, is Kickstarter a good thing? Yes. Our store's not happy about that? Yes. Is this going to get crazier? Yeah. Damn yes. Alright, I'm at work, so I gotta go. Talk to y'all later.